Number 10. The bittersweet ending nobody saw coming. Almost every love triangle in 1982 animation cheated you with a clean, bow-tied ending. Macross refused. After 36 episodes of war and transformation sequences, pilot Hikaru Ichijo made his choice, and it wasn't the girl everyone expected. He chose Misa Hayase, the officer, the one forged in survival, not fairy tale. And Minmay didn't just disappear. She became humanity's cultural ambassador, the living proof that music could reshape an entire civilization. Heartbroken, yes. Irrelevant, absolutely not. For a kids' show in 1982, that took real creative courage. And the facts underneath the show are even stranger than that ending. If deep dive anime history is your thing, subscribing means you get the next one the day it drops, not 6 months later when the algorithm decides you exist. 10 facts about Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the series that rewired the DNA of science fiction animation forever. Number 9. The protoculture shock. You and your enemy share a family tree.
Well then, I'd better be off.
Imagine fighting a brutal galaxy-spanning war and then discovering the enemy is essentially your cousin. Not metaphorically, literally. The Macross mythology introduced the concept of the protoculture, an ancient, supremely advanced civilization that existed long before either humanity or the Zentradi. The show's revelation was that both species were created by this same progenitor race. Not evolved separately, not coincidentally similar, actually engineered from the same cosmic source. That single plot reveal transformed the entire conflict retroactively. Every battle, every death, every desperate dogfight in the VF-1 Valkyrie, all of it was a civil war between estranged branches of the same family tree. The tragedy wasn't just in the casualties. It was in the staggering, irreversible waste of it. The creative team drew inspiration from Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, the idea of a grand, galaxy-spanning backstory operating beneath the surface of everything you see on screen. That literary ambition gave Macross a mythological weight that most animated series of the era never attempted. And it connects directly to the next few facts in ways you won't expect. Stay with this.
You'd be puttering around behind me, right?
Puttering? And I won't be behind you.
Number 8. Earth didn't actually survive intact at all. People remember humanity winning the war. Far fewer remember what winning actually cost. By the time the final battle concluded, Earth's surface had been devastated on a catastrophic scale. The Zentradi fleet, under Supreme Commander Dolza, executed a near-extinction-level assault on the planet. Billions died. Cities were gone. The landscape was rendered a desolate wasteland that made post-apocalyptic fiction look optimistic by comparison. Victory in Macross wasn't a parade. It was survivors, human and repentant Zentradi alike, staring at a broken planet and trying to figure out how to rebuild from almost nothing. Space colonization wasn't an ambitious future goal in this universe. It became a biological necessity for species survival. The choice wasn't exploration. It was extinction or emigration. That is extraordinarily dark storytelling for Saturday morning animation. No other series of the era was willing to show the protagonist's home planet essentially destroyed and then keep going, exploring what reconstruction actually looks like at a civilizational scale. Consider it the original "we won, but at what cost" ending. A lot of prestige dramas spent the next 4 decades trying to figure out what Macross already nailed in 1982.
Target our fold coordinates for the main fleet and engage spacefold reactors.
Number 7. The Zentradi were warriors who literally had no concept of love.
Gotcha!
The Zentradi weren't evil the way cartoon villains are typically evil. They were something far more unsettling. They were empty. Engineered specifically and exclusively for warfare, the Zentradi under Supreme Commander Dolza had no cultural framework for love, music, personal relationships, or even leisure. Their entire civilization, if you could call it that, revolved around combat protocol. Nothing else existed for them. Nothing else was ever supposed to. This made first contact with human culture genuinely destabilizing for them at a neurological level, not metaphorically. They encountered humans kissing, singing, laughing, cooking together, and it broke their operational parameters like a virus in a machine. Simple behaviors that any of us take completely for granted became exotic, incomprehensible, and ultimately overwhelming to beings engineered to know only war. It connects directly to why Lin Minmei's music became a genuine weapon. We'll get back to that very soon. For a kids' show, Macross was quietly asking one of the most profound questions in science fiction. What does it cost a species to eliminate everything that makes life worth living in pursuit of military perfection? The Zentradi were the answer, and the answer was terrifying.
Too much. I can't hold it. I said I could have it, didn't I?
Number 6. The show was supposed to be 12 episodes longer.
Rounds, why haven't you taken off yet?
VT102, huh?
Here is a production headache that quietly changed television history. The original plan for Super Dimension Fortress Macross called for 48 episodes, a full, sprawling narrative with room to breathe through character development, lore expansion, and the long middle act of a war story told properly. Then, sponsorship complications intervened. The series was cut to 36 episodes, 12 episodes gone. The immediate consequence was a noticeably accelerated pace in the second half. Story beats designed to unfold gradually got compressed. Character arcs that might have been explored with greater nuance had to resolve faster than the writers originally intended. Some relationships and plot threads feel slightly rushed in the back half as a direct result. Here is the fascinating wrinkle, though. The compression arguably made the emotional punches land harder. When you have less time, every scene carries more weight. The triangle between Hikaru, Misa, and Minmei burns more intensely, partly because the show couldn't afford to let it simmer for another dozen episodes. Sometimes creative constraints produce better art than total freedom. Macross may be one of the clearest demonstrations of that paradox in animation history. And the writers who had to scramble to finish 12 episodes early would probably disagree with that assessment entirely.
Powers exceeding the ignition threshold. T-minus 20 seconds to firing.
Number 5. Isaac Asimov helped build the Macross universe, indirectly. Not many people connect a Japanese robot anime from 1982 to one of the greatest science fiction literary series ever written. But the connection is real, and it runs deeper than a passing reference. The creative team behind Macross cited Isaac Asimov's Foundation series as a significant influence when developing the protoculture mythology, that layered ancient backstory explaining the origins of both humanity and the Zentradi as engineered species from a single progenitor civilization. Asimov's genius in Foundation was constructing a galactic history so vast and internally consistent that individual story events felt like small waves in an enormous ocean. The Macross creators applied that same structural ambition to their own mythology. This is part of what separated Macross from its giant robot contemporaries. Most mecha shows gave you a villain with a big base and a hero with a cool machine. Macross gave you 10,000 years of context beneath every single frame. That philosophical foundation, pun absolutely intended, is precisely why the franchise could sustain sequels, films, and spin-offs for decades without exhausting itself. You cannot build a universe that expandable without serious structural architecture underneath it. Asimov understood that. So did Shoji Kawamori. Number 4. The VF-1 Valkyrie was designed to actually work in the real world.
Stay in your shadow forever, senpai.
What'd you say?
Most transforming robots from that era required you to simply not think too hard about the mechanics. Macross took the opposite approach entirely. Series creator Shoji Kawamori was obsessed with engineering plausibility. He didn't want a cool-looking transformer. He wanted a transformation system that made genuine aeronautical and mechanical sense. He drew direct inspiration from real aircraft, specifically the F-14 Tomcat, studying how its variable sweep wings functioned and extrapolating how a craft built on similar principles might realistically reconfigure itself into a humanoid combat form. The result was the three-mode transformation system: fighter mode for atmospheric and space combat speed, Gerwalk mode, that iconic half-jet, half-robot stance, for transitional maneuvers and close approach, and Batroid mode for hand-to-hand combat situations. Each mode had a logical, specific tactical application. Nothing existed purely for aesthetic effect. This is why Valkyrie toys became legendary. When you transformed one in your hands, it actually felt like engineering, because it basically was. Kawamori's obsession with mechanical realism didn't just produce a great mecha design. It produced a philosophy that echoed through every serious mecha series that followed it. Number 3. Lin Minmei's songs were literally humanity's secret weapon. We mentioned earlier that Zentradi had no cultural framework for music or love. Now here is where that engineered vulnerability became a battlefield tactic. Lin Minmei wasn't just the show's breakout character. She was an accidental weapons system. Her performances, broadcast to Zentradi forces, exposed an engineered warrior race to concepts they had literally never encountered in their entire existence. Love, joy, longing, the bittersweet ache of a beautiful melody. Things humans process as ordinary emotional experience hit the Zentradi like a system crash. Their formations broke. Their commanders couldn't hold them. The creative brilliance here is that Macross took its love triangle storyline and its military science fiction storyline and wove them into a single coherent argument. Culture is not decoration. Culture is infrastructure. The things a civilization creates, music, art, relationships, the mundane texture of ordinary life, are not soft, optional extras. They're the core of what makes a species survivable. In 1982, a Japanese animated series made that argument more clearly and more powerfully than most philosophical texts manage in several hundred pages. And Minmei, a teenager who just wanted to be famous, became the proof of concept. There is something genuinely beautiful about that.
Excited?
Yeah, no kidding.
The show starts at 9, so be sure to watch.
You got it.
Number 2. The entire show was originally planned as a comedy. Put down whatever you are holding, because this one requires your full attention. Super Dimension Fortress Macross, the show known for its emotionally devastating love triangle, its apocalyptic war themes, and its meditation on culture versus military power, was originally conceived as a comedy. The early working title was Battle City Megaload, and the initial concept was a comedic series, tonally the polar opposite of what the finished product became. Somewhere in development, the creative team pivoted. The comedic premise gave way to a genuine space opera with dramatic weight, complex characters, and thematic ambition that the animation industry in 1982 was simply not expecting from a mecha show. What triggered that shift in full detail, we don't know. But the result was one of the most influential animated series in the history of the medium. Consider what Almost was. A goofy comedy about a big spaceship and some robots. Instead of the show that essentially invented modern anime's emotional vocabulary for the next 40 years. The entire franchise, Macross Plus, Macross 7, Macross Frontier, every sequel and theatrical film, all of it traces back to a creative pivot that someone made in a room in 1981. That may be the most consequential decision in anime history that nobody ever talks about. Number 1. The ship was alien. The crew was human. The whole thing was improvised under fire.
Reaction core status!
Everything that makes Macross extraordinary starts here, at the absolute foundation of its premise. The Super Dimension Fortress Macross was not built by humans. It crashed on Earth in 1999, an alien spacecraft of unknown origin, carrying technology no human engineer fully understood. Humanity spent the next 10 years reverse engineering it, rebuilding it, and attempting to operate systems designed for a completely different species with a completely different understanding of physics and warfare. They guessed.
They improvised. They made it work well enough.
Then, in 2009, the Zentradi arrived, and humanity launched into space aboard a ship they had essentially been estimating for a decade. Think about the audacity of that premise. The heroes of this story are not specially trained super soldiers with perfect equipment and a clear tactical advantage. They are regular human beings, pilots, officers, civilians, a teenage pop singer, flying an alien vessel they don't fully understand against an enemy 10 times their size, with no backup coming and no guarantee that any of their improvised solutions will hold. That grounded, desperate, entirely human quality is what made Macross transcend its genre in 1982. The giant robots were spectacular. The love triangle was genuinely compelling. The Valkyrie designs were unforgettable. But the soul of the show was always this: ordinary people discovering extraordinary things about themselves under impossible pressure. When civilization is on the line, culture, not firepower, is what keeps you human. And staying human is what makes winning worth anything at all. That is not a bad lesson for a kids' show on Saturday morning. That is not a bad lesson for anyone, anywhere, at any age.
No, damn it!
Bonus fact: giants learning to be people.
What do you mean? We were civilians, of course.
Civilians? What is this?
After the war ended and Earth began its long reconstruction, the story didn't forget about the Zentradi who switched sides. Thousands of repentant Zentradi, warriors who had been exposed to human culture and chose peace over their engineered programming, had to integrate into human society. For beings who had never experienced a family meal, a holiday, a handshake, or a conversation that wasn't a military briefing, the adjustment was profound at every level. They encountered cultural shock that no human therapist was remotely equipped to treat, because nothing in human psychology had ever prepared for a patient who genuinely did not understand what a meal was for. This storyline is one of the most overlooked elements of the original series, but it carries some of its most quietly powerful storytelling. Former soldiers learning what gentleness feels like, giant warriors figuring out what it means to simply exist without a combat objective assigned to every hour of the day. People, because that is what they were becoming, trying to reconstruct a self that was never there to begin with. The integration storyline planted seeds that the Macross franchise continued exploring for decades. The real post-war challenge isn't rebuilding cities, it's rebuilding people. And that work, as anyone who has ever tried it knows, never really ends. So there it is, a show that began as a comedy, nearly lost 12 episodes before anyone saw a single frame, launched into space aboard a ship nobody fully understood, and somehow became one of the most emotionally sophisticated pieces of science fiction animation the medium has ever produced. A pop singer deployed as a weapon, an ancient civilization connecting two warring species through shared DNA, a love triangle with no clean winner, and a victory that left the entire planet in ruins. Macross in 1982 was doing things in animation that live-action film and television wouldn't seriously attempt for another 20 years. So here is the question. Drop it in the comments right now. Which of those facts hit you hardest? Was it the comedy origin? The devastated Earth that everyone quietly forgets? Or the protoculture reveal that made the whole war a family tragedy from the very beginning? Until next time, keep your Valkyrie fueled, keep your culture close, and remember, sometimes a pop song really is the most dangerous thing in the galaxy.